Hey everybody, welcome to the kitchen. Today we are going to be making steak and grilled gyoza. As we said in the Cooking Mama side of this, we're going to be replacing the pork with potato so that we didn't have to do like two meats in one dinner.
Potato is much cheaper.
Potato is much cheaper.
I'm nodding, but you can't see it.
These are all the ingredients that we're going to need for today. We got our steak. Tried to go for a hanger steak, but they didn't have any at the store, so we got a skirt steak instead. Still pretty good cut of meat as far as like price per quality goes.
We have about a pound of it, a little less.
Yeah, so it'll be fine. Splitting that between 3 people won't be too bad, and we'll just be filling that out with the gyoza, which are actually fairly filling because it's like flour and potato, and it's very starchy.
I'm going to gorge myself on them. Just put them in my mouth.
So we can determine how many we want to make as we're just like rolling them out and making them. But anyways, first things first, I have a pot going back here. It's just water. So what we're gonna do...
Ooh, how interesting!
Yeah, so this is a steamer that we're gonna be using to steam the mashed potatoes instead of just boiling them, because I find that makes them come out more tender and easy to mash.
Ooh.
So A+. If you can get like a double boiler setup or something like this, like a steamer, I find that helps with making mashed potatoes. We're basically just gonna make mashed potatoes and then substitute the pork with mashed potatoes. We'll see how it goes. This is kind of on the fly. We'll see how it goes.
Worst case, we just eat mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
I love potatoes. Have I told our channel how nutritious potatoes are yet?
Probably. Okay. I think so.
I feel like it comes up a lot with you.
I love potatoes.
They're wonderful. Alright, so
Irish in me.
First things first, we need to start working on our gyoza wrappers. The steak is only going to take like
2 minutes.
5 minutes to cook, all said and done.
Yep.
We're just letting it get up to room temperature right now. You don't really want it to sit out too long, but you do want to let it get up to room temperature without like microwaving it or throwing it in a pan or anything like that. And then once that's done, we'll be rubbing seasonings on it, searing it, all that stuff. That takes like 5 minutes.
We're gonna rub up all over it.
Get all the bonds.
Hey Drew, teach me how to make the flower butts.
The gyoza?
Yeah.
Alright.
Flower butts.
So, they didn't have any gyoza wrappers at the store, so we're just gonna make our own. It's really simple. It's flour, water, and salt.
Yeah, that's sort of a specialty thing. You're gonna get those at like an H Mart or some other kind of like weird store.
Lottie Mart.
Yeah. So I need to get behind you real quick. And I have here this wonderful set that I got for Christmas.
Nice.
It's a rolling pin and a rolling mat. So it's got like these are for like muffins or cupcakes or biscuits or whatever.
I'm gonna move some stuff for you.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm hungry.
And then we can use this. And on the other side has measurements, so we can see how many inches, centimeters, whatever the diameter is.
That's cool. Super useful. It's got some cat flair on it.
Yeah, we're gonna wipe it down.
Yeah.
We're gonna wipe it down before we use it.
That's a good plan.
Because it does sit out in my kitchen for long periods of time.
It does have cat fur on it.
Excuse me?
Like most things in your house, when you have a cat, it has fur on it.
Yes, when you have a cat on everything. I swear, I take clothes out of the dryer and there's cat hair on them.
That seems correct, yeah. Hello, potatoes.
I'm not sure if I said this already or not, but if you can invest in one thing in your kitchen, get a good knife.
Yes.
It makes your life so much easier
I think we've said that, but that can be repeated.
It bears repeating.
Hey guys, get a good knife.
This was like $15 at Target, and it works really well. Yeah. So you don't have to spend like $100 on a Ginsu knife to get something that just cuts well. If you really want to.
I think most people know the saying that like a dull knife is more dangerous.
Yes, because you're gonna be like hacking away at it. This just goes right through. No effort, and you're not really in danger of your hand slipping as much. Also
use a appropriately sized knife. I'm actually bad at that because there's a knife in my kitchen that is smaller and I just like it because I have small hands, so it fits well. But there are some things that I should not use that for, and I do anyway. Generally, like, If the object in question is larger than the knife, don't use that knife.
Yeah.
I say doing that anyway. Don't listen. Do as I say, not as I do.
42 divided by 3 is 14.
Alright, let's
so.
Start it.
Alright, but I'm still gonna eat 5 of them.
I believe you.
Go for it. Have we had to use flour before? Have I had to show you how to measure flour?
I don't think we've used flour yet.
Okay. So, when you're measuring flour, you don't want to shake it to get rid of the excess because that makes it settle and it condenses and you end up with more flour than you need.
Yeah.
So just get something like a knife, get the back of the knife.
See, I always do
Perfect.
that, but I never knew there was actually like a reason for it.
Mm-hmm. That's why, because flour is like kind of light and fluffy, and if you do that, it like condenses it and shakes it down.
Huh.
So you end up with more flour.
So here's our flour.
So there's our flour.
It sure is floury. What's next?
This one I'm gonna need a calculator for. I don't know how to get 0.16 repeating teaspoons of salt.
Just get like a pinch. Pinch it a couple times. And we'll call it good enough.
We're gonna get just a pinch of salt. Probably can't see any of that happening.
Nope, not at all.
Sweet. 1080p for the win. Alright. Just a little bit of salt.
I see salt in here,
I promise.
he hasn't heard it yet.
8 teaspoons of water.
8 entire tisps.
8 entire tisps.
Where's your tisp at?
Where's my tisp at? That's a tibspa.
That's a tibs.
A tibs. We don't want tibs. We want just a tisp. That's another tibs.
Dog, where are your tisps at?
I'm looking for them. I have an eclectic... There is a tisp.
There's a tisp. We found a tisp.
Eclectic assortment of cookware that people have left when they moved out, and that's how I got most of the cookware that I own.
Yep.
Yeah, 1 milliliter is 0.2 teaspoons. So if we do that, 5 teaspoons.
Why don't you just put in the number
one
of
teaspoon,
milliliters?
1 teaspoon. Well, it's 1 teaspoon per 5 milliliters, and if we need 40, then we need 8 teaspoons.
Okay. 2 and a pinch.
We need boiling water, so we're gonna grab some of this.
Drew's cheating.
I'm cheating. Watch me.
This is Drew.
1,
Kooky cheater.
2,
This is a bad angle, but
3,
it's okay.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Alright, that's 8 tisps worth of water
Uh-huh.
from the cheater Drew.
The cheater me.
Look.
You say I'm cheating, I say I'm resourceful.
Yeah, I was about to say it's resourcefulness. Waste not, want not, right?
Oh,
Exactly.
Cheater regardless.
I mean, you can call me whatever you want. It's America. You're allowed to be wrong. That's the thing with dividing recipes, is it can be a little...
It's an art, not a science.
It's going to be a
There's
little
your tips.
imprecise.
Or
Yes,
your
my
tips.
test. I just need to do this whole song and dance again.
Oh, no.
Alright, so just kind of kneading this together
There's a
right
lot
now.
of hand action happening.
Yeah. This needs to be kneaded for around 10 minutes, it
Got
says, but I'm gonna... We'll see, because it's a much smaller amount of dough.
Yeah.
It might not need to be that whole entire time. But it'll get a lot smoother once we're done kneading it. This is getting real nice and doughy up in here. You can pretty much do this with one hand at this point. Alright, so I think we've got a good ball of dough
That looks
here.
like dough.
This does look like dough. It doesn't look like a whole lot of dough.
No,
Doesn't look
but
like
it's
enough to
gotta
make
get-
14, but it's gotta get really flat.
Yeah, so it's gonna
So.
probably end up. This camera is getting very hot on my hand.
I am sorry to hear that.
My hand is hot.
So we gotta roll it out into a log about an inch in diameter. So that's a 2-inch one right there. So that's about half of that. So this is about an inch.
It looks like a turd.
It does. Let me shape it a little bit more.
Turd-like?
Turd-like.
Nice.
There we go.
Here's our white
Get some
turd.
good lumps going in there.
Our dough turd.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for ruining gyoza for me.
You're welcome.
Alright, potatoes are not quite done.
Cool.
The way to check if your potatoes are done, if you get a knife and you feel any resistance while you're poking at the potatoes, they're not done. It should just slide like you're poking hot butter. Alright, so the potatoes are done. You can just kind of poke them and they're falling apart as I'm just kind of poking them. So these guys are super done.
Potatoes!
And the other nice thing about doing the steaming method is that we don't need to use a colander or anything. Just pick this up.
Super good. Colanders are bad. I mean, they're not, but I like colanders.
They're fine, but
they're not bad.
I like not having to use them when I can. Alright, so another important thing, when you're pouring hot water down your drain, and if you don't have copper pipes and you have plastic pipes, run cold water at the same time, otherwise it will probably crack.
Look, I can make a nice pot of spaghetti, and I can scramble an egg, and I can make mashed potatoes, and also if it comes out of a box, I can usually do it. Like, if it just needs me to add milk and butter.
Alright, speaking of adding milk and butter.
Yeah, hey! In the tradition of mashed potato makers everywhere, we don't measure the milk, we just pour it in until it looks good.
Yeah, I couldn't even see it, I'm just kind of assuming it's fine.
Yeah, that was a good.
And let's get a good chunk of butter. Excuse me.
Yeah, man, just throw that whole stick in there.
Whoop.
That is not enough.
I'm throwing in the pieces at a time.
Okay.
I find it incorporates better when you do it in pieces.
It's making a funny squeaky noise.
It's probably because it's held on by duct tape and dreams.
That seems correct. Okay.
We're good.
Cool.
Oh, I could just eat that whole pot.
Don't do it.
I could eat that whole pot.
Don't do it.
Yup. Steaming mashed potatoes makes mashing them real easy. Alright, so we need to cut this lengthwise into about the recommended 14 blorps. Let's actually not cut it on my nice rolling mat and use the cutting board for what its intended purpose is. Mm-hmm. Got a little flour on here.
Put some flour on the cutting board before you put that stuff down.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Alright, so I'm gonna just cut off a couple guys. We're gonna end up with however many we end up with. Cutting this dough is really funky. Like,
you heard it here first. Dough is funky.
It's so funky fresh. And a 13. Alright, good enough. For each chunk, we need to roll it into a ball. We're just gonna get that process going. There might be kind of smaller side, but whatever.
Look, it's a butt.
Yep.
A lot of them ended up as butts.
Let me zoom into that. Good booty right there. Look at that. Look at those buns. There it goes. It's a Kirby.
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
It's a Kirby.
It's a butt!
Have you ever seen those pictures of like Kirby
Kerbutt.
with a butt?
No.
It's like super weird,
All right.
but also kind of cool.
So we need
Spread
to
that guy out.
spread this guy
God
out.
damn it, Sam! Damn it, Sam!
Speaking of butts, I think this is about as thin as these guys are gonna get without being like waffle thin. It is waffle thin. This is already kind of wafer thin.
Cool. Can you see through it?
No,
Okay, that's good enough.
that's fine. We're gonna have some tiny gyoza that are kind of oddly shaped. These are gonna be like so funky.
Oh, it's
I don't believe that recipe when it said the full thing was for 42.
How much of the recipe do we make?
A third. These guys are way smaller than the ones in the recipe picture. And
We
it
might
said
have
there's
just
some...
fucked up somewhere.
No. Well, also later in the directions it says to roll them out into like 2 of those logs and then cut them each into 12. I'm like, well, 2 12s is 24, not 42. So
Maybe they lied to you.
I think maybe the beginning number was a typo. It should say 24 instead of 42.
Maybe.
But we're learning. It'll be
Um,
the tiniest gyoza.
yeah.
There's a children's book for you. The tiniest gyoza.
Fuck, that was a t-shirt design.
It's like a tiny potato. It believes in you. You can do the thing. Look at that tiny, tiny gyoza.
Yeah, I want that
So
one.
get out of here, crusty bits of flour.
No. We like it here.
Alright, so
Hello.
we have our gyoza wrappers all rolled out. There's some funky shapes. We had to cut them kind of small to get the number that we were hoping for. I remain convinced that the recipe typoed when it said it made 42 and it actually only makes 24 because it only ever tells you to cut and roll out 24 of these guys. So I think they just hit 42 instead of 24. And I'm a little miffed.
That one's shaped
But-
like a butt.
They're all shaped like butts, let's be real here.
Not all of them. This one right here is shaped like a piece of bread.
This one looks kind of like a Space Invader.
A little bit. This one's a heart.
That's a heart. Or a butt,
Or a butt.
depending on your angle.
Yeah. And this one is like... I don't know what this one is.
Goldfish?
It's a shape.
The shape sure does describe what it is. So
Okay.
we're just putting a little bit of flour on the tops of them.
That was the bread one.
Uh-huh. We've got our stack of gyoza wrappers here.
Butter lamb. I just want everyone to appreciate the butter.
Yeah, it was shaped like a lamb.
What?
Now it's not, because I've been cutting it. So every year at Easter, my family gets this lamb butter. It's been a tradition, like, since my grandparents did Easter. They always got butter that was shaped like a lamb.
This is like
So-
some Paula Deen bullshit.
So now, and then my parents, like, don't really cook with butter a lot. So last time I was up there, they're like, hey, we've got all this butter that's vaguely shaped like a lamb. Do you want it? And I'm like, sure, I'll use it. First, we chop up.
Now I need the fuck are we cutting? Are we cutting cabbage?
Cabbage, green onion, and garlic. We only need like 1/8 of a pound of cabbage.
That's not much cabbage.
No, well, we don't need much in the way of filling because we've got like
4,000
a handful of tiny gyoza. All right.
and 4,000 potato.
Yes,
The amount
4,000
of potato
potatoes.
is 4,000.
Okay.
I gotta say, you're pretty good at cutting cabbage.
Thank you. This is honestly my first time.
Yeah.
I've never really had an occasion to cut cabbage before.
I've never really tried. I think I've cut a radicchio before,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a cabbage light. It's like halfway between lettuce and cabbage, which is weird if you think about it.
I mean, I guess.
Also, it's red.
Oh, that is kind of weird. Well, I guess cabbage can be red.
Yeah, cabbage can be red.
Alright, so
Strange. I stir fried it once. 'cause
cabbage.
Okay. There's cabbage.
Half a cup of green onion chopped. So half
Green onion.
quart. So an 1/8 cup of green onions chopped. Again, just gonna rinse off our fresh produce. Okay, just gonna,
Cut off all the ends. And make
yeah. Yeah. Alright. We've got a lot of leftover onion and cabbage.
What you gonna do with it?
That's the problem with cooking for like 1 to 3 people. What am I gonna do with it? I mean, it's probably just gonna go bad if one of you guys wants to take it with you.
Yeah, I'll use it for something.
So we need to mince up about half a clove of garlic.
Kale. I've done kale.
Cool.
It was that leftover kale. Remember that?
Oh yeah, okay. That's cool. I remember that kale. I was there for that kale.
You were there. That was a good kale.
It was a good time. Didn't much care for the kale, but the rice
For
was good.
shame.
I'm sorry, it's not my bag. Alright. So, important note.
I can smell it.
This is a clove of garlic. This is a head of garlic.
Don't use a fucking
This
head.
is not a clove of garlic. This is too much garlic.
That's a lot. No,
It's a lot of garlic. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Also, I learned a thing about peeling garlic. You take the flat end of the knife and press down on it until you hear it kind of crack. And then should just kind
I
of...
don't know if I heard it crack real good. Do it again.
Yeah, alright.
This is a stubborn
There we go.
clove of garlic.
It is a little stubborn, but it's fine. So we're gonna do half of this now and half of that later. The other half is gonna go on the steak. So, if you want to really get the flavor out of the garlic, you gotta chop it real thin. Probably even thinner than this if you want to get like real intense about it. Also watch your fingers.
Don't cut off your fingers.
Seriously, don't. It sucks.
Don't do it. It's bad. Don't.
My dudes. Have you heard about garlic? Do you have a minute for me to talk to you about garlic?
Do it. Tell me your garlic.
It's good. It's real good.
Cool.
Goes in lots of things, and I like it a lot. And it keeps the vampires away, which is nice.
Yeah? Is that a concern?
I mean, it's not really a concern, it's just kind of a bonus.
Okay.
That's not why I eat garlic. It's just like, you know, it's nice. Alright, so we need to add a little bit of salt to these here mashed taters. And then mix this all up real good. Oh, good luck. And now I'm gonna add this to this. Gonna get that on a more solid surface.
Nice.
It's way more filling than we're gonna have gyoza for.
Gosh darn,
But
we'll just have to...
we might just have some leftover mashed taters. Smashed taters, if you will. We have cabbage and shallot mashed potatoes. Cabbage and shallot garlic mashed potatoes now.
Oh, is there cabbage in there too?
Yep.
Yep.
Those aren't shallots. Those are spring onions.
Or spring onions. Scallions, not shallots. Might be.
Shallots are like small onions.
They're like halfway in size between garlic and an onion.
We've
Like,
had some
size-wise,
big ones at the store lately.
I really like shallots.
Shallots?
honestly.
I prefer shallots to onions.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, partially it's because, like, if I get a shallot, I can just cut up and use the entire thing. Whereas if I get an onion, I normally can't quite manage to use the entire
Oh,
thing.
that's okay. You just stick that bad boy.
Did you use the ginger, Drew?
Not yet. It didn't say.
Because, like, if you don't use it, I'll make tea out of it like I do. But
Yeah.
but the list you gave me said ginger.
A teaspoon of minced ginger. Yeah.
Oh
We
man,
can.
there's a big old buggo.
Big old buggo.
Yeah, I think it's a mosquito.
Doing
it that way.
Kill it. Kill it with fire.
Look.
Drew, do your job.
Nope.
Ew.
Did we wash that?
Good call. I remember to wash like everything else. Alright. Just gonna cut off an edge that we can grate.
Yeah.
Nice.
The good thing
Excuse me.
about cooking is even though you should wash everything, since it's getting cooked, it probably won't kill you if you forget.
That's true.
Yeah, but I don't know who's been handling that shit at Whole Foods.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Alright. So we're just gonna grind a little bit of ginger
Well, I can smell it,
into here.
but I sure can't see any of it falling.
That's because it just kind of gets mushed on the underside and you gotta scrape it in. So
Oh, you... Whoop.
there you go. Alright.
I can smell it very well, guess.
Alright. A little bit of ginger goes a long way. So yeah, if you want to take the rest of that.
Yeah, I'll take the rest of the ginger.
Mm-hmm. So we need to add soy sauce, mirin,
Found it.
and sesame oil.
Found it.
It is okay to add mirin instead of sake, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yes.
Dash of pepper.
Some peepos.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Oops, sorry. Just mix all of this up. Japanese mashed potatoes.
That's super cool, actually.
Yeah, it's fine.
Smells super good.
It smells really good.
So now we need to mix some flour water.
What's this part?
So this is flour water. It's basically going to be our glue for closing up the gyoza wrappers.
Oh, cool.
So I just need a surface to work on here.
There you go. There's a friend.
yeah.
It's heart-shaped.
Get a little bit of flour down here first.
Hey Sam, can you tell me why we put flour down?
So that it doesn't stick.
Yeah!
Yeah.
A good Sam.
I know that
Okay.
much, because I've made cookies once.
Yeah!
Alright. So we're just going to grab like a pinch of this bad boy.
Ooh.
Pretty big pinch.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much leftover mashed
I
potato.
think we're just gonna...
I'll eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then gonna fingers in the flour water, run it along the edge like so, fold it over.
And then we get a
Pinch it.
strange misshapen gyoza.
Mm-hmm. Pinch it down. I guess a little bit's gonna squirt out the edge if you put as much in as I did.
Seems fine.
There you go.
Might have to put in a little less.
Yeah.
That seems daijoubu.
And then you can just kind of crimp the edges if you want to.
I'm just gonna
Grab
get this out of your
that.
way.
Alright, cool.
Uh,
Alright. Yeah, that recipe definitely lied about the number of gyoza that it makes. It's so tiny. I told him that he was gonna have a hard time. They'll never fit in with the other gyoza.
No, you don't tell him that he's perfect.
Drew,
Look.
why would you dash his dreams like that?
Look, he needs to know what he's up against.
No, he's perfect. You shut your mouth.
It's not gonna help lying to him that he's the same as all the other kids. He's not the same, but that doesn't mean that he's less of a
just
gyoza.
Vertically challenged.
He's different.
Lengthenly challenged.
He's different, but that's okay that he's different, because it's part of what makes him him. He's gonna notice that he's not as big as all the other kids. And he's gonna be like, why did you lie to me and say that I was just like all the other kids?
That's right, we can't lie. It's
You don't
true.
want to lie.
It's true.
You gotta give them proper expectations, but without devaluing their self-worth. And this guy needs to heat up. There we go, I can hear him start sizzling a little bit.
Sizzle it up with Drew, Yo, and Sam.
We need to get like a cheesy pose where we're all like giving a thumbs up. Like white or yellow and red polka dot background splash behind us. With like those Nickelodeon gack splats on it.
Oh my god, please.
Did I ever tell you guys about the Gintama episode where they're all trying to figure out how to improve the show? And one of them is just like, let's make a cooking show. And then he just puts mayonnaise in a pan and that's his food.
Mayonnaise is not a food.
That is legitimately one of my favorite episodes of Gintama. In a world where every episode is a treasure, the ends of season episodes are always the best.
Alright, so we added our boiling water to the gyoza that are frying in the pan. We need to cover it and let it cook for about 4 minutes, or until all the water is
Now,
dissolved.
I'm packing up the last gyoza here, so I need Yo to come look at how much potato is still left and get this on camera.
We
Potato.
probably put like a potato
Potato.
in the gyoza combined. These are far too tiny. I was lied about the amount of servings that this made.
Yeah, we
was
should
lied
have
to.
just done the full thing instead of the half thing. But then just made them big.
Yeah, well,
Now we know.
now we know. And now you know. More importantly, you know. Don't make the same mistake I did.
Don't use the same recipe we did.
I'll post the recipe, but just be aware that it makes 24 instead of 42. Whenever I hear directions that are like, do it for this long, or until blank happens, I always get really nervous that blank is going to happen before the time.
I feel you on that, my guy.
Okay, so we need to add more sesame oil.
It smells really good.
It does smell really good. I'm gonna... It doesn't say to, but I'm gonna flip these guys.
Good plan.
I like that plan.
Oh man, this guy got stuck on the bottom hardcore.
Shit.
This is why I use more oil than they recommend. This is my nightmare. Sure.
Suikoden and spaghetti. Spaghetti.
Suikagetti?
That one's good.
Alright, Suikagetti.
I'm down with Suikoden.
Yeah, so, as a bridge between Cooking Mama and spoilers, Suikoden 2, at the end of the first episode of Suikoden 2, we're just gonna make spaghetti.
This seems good. I like it.
We need to get the steak all seasoned up.
Steak time.
So, gonna finish cutting up the rest of this here garlic.
And you get to see it from this side now. Spoiler, it looks better from this side.
Cool. We'll just splice this in from on the first one.
That seems fine. No.
We got that B-roll.
Yeah.
You want to wait until you're ready to start cooking before you season your steak.
Unless it is a flank steak. In which case you want to let that sucker sit for like an hour.
Okay.
Or more.
That.
that is not here or there. I mean, it's there. It's not
It's
here.
there. It is there, not here.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna just get that garlic all up on here. So I like to put fresh minced garlic on my steak. Or just buy some minced garlic at the store. I'm just gonna rub that all in there. Get that in good.
Massage that meat. Trip.
Massaging in the meat. I massaged a bunch of meat over here.
Boy.
I'm just rubbing that garlic in there good.
Boy.
Okay. And then with my other hand, I'm gonna flip the gyoza.
This seems Gyoza.
It's good that you can do that gyoza stuff one-handed while you handle your meat with the
Uh-huh.
other hand.
I have learned to do a lot of things while handling my meat. It's important to be multi-talented.
Oh, you fuckers. What am I gonna do with you?
Eat my steak
That seems
after I cook it,
Yeah.
and my gyoza.
Yeah.
Alright, butter.
Butter.
In the pan.
It's butter.
About 2 tablespoons of butter melted in your cast iron skillet.
If it's lamb shaped, you get bonus points.
Yeah.
Bonus
Alright.
points.
Ideally, if you have the money, buy some fancy salt, like, you know, bigger grain kosher salt, or like the freaking fancy pink salt, whatever.
Himalayan salt.
Yeah, the Himalayan salt,
Yeah.
whatever. If you don't,
Sea
just
salt.
yeah. If you don't, just salt it. It's fine. Rub it in.
Should we,
Good. Yeah. The pan shouldn't. The handle shouldn't be too hot just yet.
Yeah, it's not.
But yeah, get that
Fun
guy
fact
coated
about
in butter.
cast iron.
Yeah.
It gets really hot.
Yeah, it's all made out of iron. Spoilers. It's called cast iron for a reason. Alright,
Get
we're
that
gonna
stick on there. Yeah.
drop this. In it go. I forgot to preheat the oven. Don't do that. Preheat the oven to 450 degrees.
Nice.
It smells so good.
It does smell really good.
So you need to cook that for...
Flippy.
Nope, 1 more minute. Cooks for 2 minutes per side.
Then flippy.
Then we'll flip it. Check that. Yeah, that's ready for flipping.
Yeah.
So if you have a... This is probably going to be really hard to hear me over the sizzling. But if you have a thicker cut of meat, you do one side and then the other, and then get a pair of tongs and sear the sides as well for about 30 seconds. But this guy is so thin, the sides are already cooked, so we're good there. Alright, so let's check. That is good and seared. Alright, now, Sam, can you do me a salad and open up the oven, please?
You got it, my dude.
Okay. I'm gonna put that guy.
Just put the whole fucking pan.
Put the whole pan in the oven. Close it up. All right, and we're gonna.
See you in
2 minutes. This is our steak. It is done. Just cut it open and check. But it's pretty pink on the inside. But with steak, that is quite okay. It's your personal preference. I like mine on the more medium rare side, and that is just about perfect for me.
I'm always good with a good medium, so it's
Yeah.
good for me.
So I don't have a knife.
Just shove it in your mouth.
Here's a knife.
You know what? Actually, I like Yo's suggestion.
All right, just take a big old bite out of that steak.
That's just steak. How's your steak?
It's so fucking good.
Yeah, boy.
Now eat a gyoza. How's that?
So I already ate one. Attentive viewers will know that I took 5 and there's only 4.
Get a little bit of soy sauce on that one. That's a good crunch. All right.
Well, you heard it here, folks.
You heard it here first, folks. Better than mama. We out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to click that subscribe button to stay current on all things Duplay. If you really like us, why not support us on GameWisp? We've got lots of awesome rewards for our subscribers, including early access to our videos and exclusive content. Thanks. Catch you guys next time.